folks. I think my microphone is working, and I want to say hello to all the good folks. Hope you are having a good day. I pray that you are safe and out of harm's way. I had not planned on doing this broadcast today when I woke up, but of course, life always deal you some surprises and unexpected events. So here I am. I woke up this morning motivated to work on my business stuff, and I had to stop in my tracks and gather my thoughts and make this broadcast. I have no clue where to start, to be honest with you. Rarely does that happen to me, that I can get on a broadcast and not have a clear thought of what I want to say. But I'm going to go to my notepad, and I'm going to focus on what I put on my notepad, because that is the key for our children and grandkids and all of us adults. So I put on my notepad, stop saying hate, Black American, white supremacy, and using the term African American. When you are operating within a corrupt system, a unfair system, a evil system, you have to operate within that system under a term that gives you protection and any chance of human rights, any chance of protection, any chance of access to resources. So all these adults that have been running around here on these social media platforms, going by the term Black American, African American, and then coming up with new ones, Freeman, ADOS, and FBA, you are making it very easy for your enemy to harm you. And it can't be no excuse, because each one of us have a phone and a computer, and we know how to click a link and go read the definition on the OMB, which describes how they see you as a human being. So I have been asking for well over 6 months, why have not every adult since the 28th of March, 2024, went to the OMB and read the definition? Because the OMB did not try to hide it. So what is the excuse? Because the definition is a very, very short definition. It says Black American / African American is a individual that belongs to a black racial group of Africa. Your enemy is telling you to your face they don't see you as a human being. They don't recognize you having a birthright, and you continue to run around identifying that way. How much more clear can they make it for you? They are telling you to your face, and you keep on ignoring it. You keep on running around here saying, we all black. We all African American. We all African. We all black. We all African Americans. Your enemy didn't have a gun to your head and make you do that. Your enemy did not have a gun to your head and make you put it in print. So who can you blame? Who can you blame when your enemy did not walk around with you every hour of the day with a gun in your head and force you to say Black American and African American? Well, now Donald Trump is in there making sure that he do everything in his ability to erase that 246 years. Because you folks didn't care about it. You didn't care about it. You didn't care about it. It was more important for you to try to save Black American. It was more a priority for you to try to save African American. It was more important for you to try to get Freeman recognized. It was more important for you to try to get excuse me, ADOS recognized. It was more important for you to try to get FBA recognized. But you forgot, all of you adults forgot how America operates. America operates on evil and greed. Evil and greed. And the three things that they care about, the only three things they care about is money. Let's write it down. Money, power, and control. Let's all write all three of those down. If you don't fall in that category and I don't fall in that category, then we are on the outside looking in. Money, power, and control. And nobody should need to help you to figure out, do you fall into one of those three categories? You don't need anyone's help. And ask yourself the question, do I fall into any one of those three categories? Money, power, and control. And no matter how hard I tried to preach about this since January the 5th, 2022, everyone called me crazy. I told you, get your numbers together, organize, gather your number count. You cannot threaten your opposition and your enemy if you can't slap them in the face with your number count. If you don't have something to slap them in the face, they don't care about your lips going up and down. They don't care about my lips going up and down. They don't care about your lips and my lips going up and down. They don't care. So I said, over and over, I said, gather your number count. Set up a community on your Twitter profile. Set up a Facebook group. Set up an Instagram. Set up a Discord. Set up a website. Gather the numbers. The only thing that can trump money, power, and control is knowing your numbers. Even if you are the second to the last smallest population, you still have collective power. All persons who are descendants of Negroes have collective power because they are descendants of those Negroes who were enslaved for 246 years. But you folks were too offended to go by the term Negro, which was the only term that carved out any protection, any human rights, any respect, any access to resources. That was the only thing that would give us a very slim chance of fighting for those four things. But you turned your back on it. You were too offended by the term Negro. You wanted to come up with new acronyms, BAND, Black American Negro Descendants. You wanted to be American Descendants of Slaves, Yvette Cornell. You wanted to be acronym Peoplehood. You wanted to be B1. You wanted to be FBA. When you clearly have a brain and you know Freeman, ADOS, and FBA are not recognized at the local, state, or federal level. So why would you run around and keep on saying it? Why didn't common sense tell you, secure the term that give you your best position and then circle back around and try to get those other terms recognized? But you couldn't do that. You wanted to be smart. You wanted your own ego. You wanted to be smart, and you wanted your own ego and your own self-interest and your own self-agenda. So now, today, all of us are going to pay that price that I told you. I told you. Each one of us with melanated skin was going to pay that price. Well, that day to start paying that price started today. And who knows when it's going to end or if it's going to ever end. Thanks to you ungrateful human beings that did not want to honor Negroes' ancestors. So when you wake up tomorrow and the next day and the next day, you look in that mirror and thank your ungrateful self. Thank your ungrateful self. Thank your ungrateful self for not honoring the sacrifice and the achievements of 246 years of Negro slaves. That's who you need to thank. Because if you would have fought and stood on that, America would have been forced to respect it. Whether they liked it or not, they would have liked it. They would never have liked it, but they would have knew that you meant business. They would have knew that you meant business because the whole world benefited from that 246 years. And no one could have a pushback. Not one human being walking around on two legs could have pushed back if you would have had the backbone to stand on Negro. If you would have stood on Negro, the whole world would not have been able to push back, especially America. They would have been at the front of the line, but you turned your back on it. You turned your back on it. You wouldn't put it in print. You wouldn't put it on your profile. You wouldn't say it in rooms. You made a joke of it. You downright made a joke of it. You allow other human beings on a social media app to make a joke of your ancestors' sacrifice. And no one spoke up against it hardly. Only a few persons had enough backbone to speak up and speak against it. The rest of you sat in these rooms day after day. You sat in these Twitter spaces day after day, day after day, day after day, day after day, and listened to these persons put down the term Negro. You allowed them to do that. Your enemy didn't control that. Your enemy did not control that. No, you let your fellow human being control that. And so now, each one of us are going to pay a price because Donald Trump is signing executive orders faster than most of us can blink our eye. Donald Trump is signing executive orders faster than most of us can blink our eye. I told Mark King Carter and all those Freeman persons on Clubhouse, I told them, they remember me. I went into their spaces and they kicked me out, and then I would wait a day or two, and then I'd come back again. They'll kick me out again. I'll wait a day or two and come back again. We went back and forth like that for so long, I can't tell you how many times. But finally, they stopped kicking me out. I don't know why. I still don't know to this day why they stopped kicking me out of their rooms. But I told them over there on Clubhouse, because I had never been a part of this social media madness. I had never been a part of social media madness until January the 5th, 2022. Before then, I only logged in to do my entrepreneur. I logged on for 10 or 20 or 30 minutes, long enough for me to promote my business venture, and got back off. I didn't spend any time posting anything unless it was about something that I was doing business-wise. If it wasn't pertaining to that, I never made a post. And folks can go check my profile. I started my account in 2012. So, yeah, 2012. I've barely been a part of this a little over 10 years. So I did not start understanding that folks were talking about reparations until August of 2020. August of 2020 is when I first heard of a word called reparations. The circle that I was running in had no one knew, no one talked about it, no one said it. But when I got on YouTube in August of 2020, I happened to stumble upon a video talking about ADOS. So I told my little brain that I was an ADOS until I got more information and was around these conversations more, and folks were talking about genealogy. I didn't know what that meant. But then I got a better understanding, and I sent off for my blood test. I sent off for 2 blood tests. I wanted to compare the 2 blood tests. So I sent off, I had took money out of my pocket that I did not have. I had to pay the money because I wanted to try to get some information about my family tree. I said, I'm going to have to sacrifice this money because this is very, very, very important that I get this information. So I talked to my oldest sister, and I double-checked with her our grandfather's name, because my mother, may she rest in peace, had already passed from this world. So I knew a little bit of information from my mother, so I went to my oldest sister and started asking her questions. And within 12 hours, I had traced my family tree back to 1860. I got so passionate about it, and I was just so on edge that when I started it, I didn't realize that I was going to keep on searching for a whole straight 12 hours. And finally, I got so tired, I had to go to sleep. And so I got up the next day and started again. But those first 12 hours gave me a lot of information, because I knew who my grandfather was. I knew who my grandmother was, because I was named after her. But I didn't know anyone past those two persons. I didn't know anyone names that went past my grandfather and grandmother. Those were the only two names that I knew. And I did not know my father's name. I only had my mother's name. So I started my search with my mother's name, and then I went to my grandfather and grandmother and tried to connect the dots. And I was able to feel confident that the information that I was looking at that went back to 1860 could be verified based on the names that I was looking at. Based on the names that I was looking at, I could almost 100% or 99% believe what I was looking at. But I ran into a brick wall. I ran into a brick wall at 1860. And so that's how my journey has been. I sent off for a second DNA test. And now, here we are. Here we are on the 28th of January, 2025, and we have virtually lost everything that Negro ancestors sacrificed and achieved. We lost it. The OMB told all of us on the 28th of March they wanted to remove Negro. And you folks just kept right on going about your merry day. The OMB told you to your face, we are going to erase your history. We're going to take a water fountain and turn it on, and we're going to wash it down the drain like it never happened. Like it never happened, and you folks just kept right on trucking along. You just kept right on trucking along, calling yourself Black American. You kept right on trucking along, calling yourself African American. You kept right on trucking along and wanted to get freemen recognized at the local, state, and federal level. When you clearly know that Negro came before the term freeman, most of you intelligent, common sense adults knew that Negro was recorded for 246 years, and no one can show any documentation that freeman was recorded for 246 years. So why did you allow those persons? Why did you choose to let them harm what they had carved out with their bones, sweat, and tears, and bones and murder for something that was only came about after that 246 years? So why did you do it? Each one of you who did it needs to answer that question. Each one of you adults who allowed that to happen have to answer that question, because what is happening today is because of what harm that Freeman, ADOS, and FBA have been doing. Because America is never going to recognize those terms. They will never carry the weight and the precedent existence of Negro, but you allowed it to happen. America is never going to recognize Black American, African American, freemen, ADOS, and LBA at the same level of Negro, because what came first can never be replaced. And I think most of us adults learned that growing up. It's elementary. What came first can never be replaced. And because America chose to reclassify you to Black American, you have the brain to self-correct. But no, you cared so much about that word black, you held on to it with a death grip. So now, a lot of folks are going to go to their grave because that word black meant more to you than folks getting welfare. It meant more to you than folks being able to get government assistance. So now all of it has been canceled. All of it has been canceled. Head Start, after school programs, free lunch, free breakfast, every type of assistance have been cut off for 90 days.
Okay, I need to pause this audio at this point so I can make some corrections. Based on further research, Donald Trump was not successful at pausing or canceling government assistance programs that are essential. But stay tuned. I'm quite sure that Donald Trump is nowhere near finished with what his personal intentions, his presidency intentions are to harm the Negro community. So you just need to pay attention and do your research and stay on top of everything that Donald Trump and Elon Musk and the rest of his cabinet workers implement. So I'm going to do the right thing and pause this audio and add this correction that after further research, Donald Trump plans to pause or cancel essential government assistance programs was put on hold by the court system. So at the time of making this recording, a message had been sent out and was quite confusing as to which government assistance programs were going to be paused for 30, 60, or 90 days. So I want to do the honest and fair thing and make this correction as for part of this audio recording, because I do not want to give out incorrect information. So I'm going to do the right thing like I have done always. I am not going to sit on a audio app and make up lies. But I encourage the Negro community to pay very, very close attention to everything that Donald Trump is doing. Donald Trump is making it very clear that his main target is the Negro ancestors' recorded history, and the main target is the Negro descendants of Negro ancestors. And my personal evaluation and my personal perspective is that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are going to be taken care of by God. That I know without any doubt, that God is going to take care of Elon Musk and Donald Trump for every little thing they try to do to harm the Negro bloodline. Folks can believe me if they want. Just wait and see. Just wait and see, and you will see with your own eyes how God take care of Elon Musk and Donald Trump for their intentions to harm the Negro bloodline that is God's chosen people. So thank you for listening, and I'm going to put the audio back on.
Can you try to imagine how many persons are going to be able to hold on for 90 days? Do any of you who had your own self-interest and your own egos, can you try to estimate or guess how many persons are going to be able to hold on for 90 days while that program is on hold? Can anyone answer that for me? Can anyone leave me a comment? Because you folks care more about black. You cared more about black than saving Negro. So now all of us are going to pay the price. All of us. Every one of us who are walking around on two legs and breathing, it will impact all of us in some way. Some way, form, or fashion, it will impact. If you are wealthy, maybe it may not impact you. If you are very wealthy, it may not impact you. But Donald Trump is still in the kitchen cooking up. Donald Trump is working overtime, cooking up a fancy dish of harm and attacks on the Negro history and legacy in this country. And that is going to impact all persons with brown and dark brown skin. All persons with brown and dark brown skin, when they look in the mirror, you are going to get impacted because you care so much about black. Instead of fighting for Negro that came first, that your ancestors carved out to hope and pray that each one of their descendants would not have to start at ground zero. Well, we are at ground zero. All of us are at ground zero. I hope folks will celebrate because each one of us with brown and dark brown skin are at ground zero. All of that 246 years that got carved out by the Negro ancestors went down the drain on the 28th of March, 2024. The 28th of March, 2024, so many human beings called into the OMB and told the OMB, I am okay if you choose to remove Negro. I prefer to identify as Black American. After the OMB read to them before the meeting started, they read the whole statement, read it very slowly before each person had a chance to talk for their 2 minutes. The OMB told them to their face, OMB is telling you to your face, I am going to wash your history down the drain. And these human beings got on the phone and told the OMB for 2 minutes. Each one of us had 2 minutes to talk. Each one of us had 2 minutes to speak. And they said, OMB, I am okay if you decide to remove Negro. I prefer to identify as Black American. OMB, I am okay if you decide to remove Negro. I prefer to identify as African American. OMB, I am okay if you decide to remove Negro because I prefer to identify as freeman. OMB, I want you to know I am okay if you decide to remove Negro because I prefer to identify as ADOS. I heard Yvette Cornell call in, and I saw her YouTube broadcast the day after the OMB removed Negro, and she had the audacity to say that those Negroes that called in was or something. I can't remember how she put it, but she made sure to let her disappointment that the 10 Negroes, including myself, that called in and told the OMB, you don't have the right to remove Negro. Yvette Cornell was upset with that. So Yvette Cornell can be held accountable for Donald Trump canceling Head Start, free breakfast and lunch programs, free after-school programs, free Medicaid, and more than likely Social Security. Y'all know about all those other programs, financial aid, EEO. We already know about the fake DEI. I also read something where something popped up on my Twitter timeline where Trump was saying no person can have the ability to bring a legal case for discrimination. Do you folks clearly understand what you have done to your children and grandkids? Do y'all fully comprehend what you have done to each one of your children and grandkids? Do you fully understand that? The little bit of protection that we had is gone. I told you brain dead people to boycott and force the Republicans and the Democrats to come to the table. I started preaching that on Clubhouse on February the 5th, 2022. I built a whole WordPress website of 50 states and also paid $500 to set up an affiliate program so any person that shared the link would earn a 50% commission or a 25% commission on a $20 a year membership. A little $20 for the whole 12 months, and every person that you shared the link with and they joined, you were going to receive a 50% commission to help grow the network. And nobody wanted to do it. No one wanted to do it. So I sucked up my disappointment and my anger, and I tried it over the fan base, and I started preaching it over there. Stayed over there for 4 months preaching it and falling on deaf ears. It fell on deaf ears. So I went to Twitterland. Then I got another brainstorm to set up over 60 groups on Minds.com. They still there. They've been there for well over a year. They've been set up for well over a year. It took me a good while to set up each one of those groups. It took me a good while. I can't even remember how long it took me to do it. But then I wasn't satisfied with that. I decided to put a community on my Twitter profile. I said I'm gonna set up 3 different platforms. I'm gonna set up 3 different platforms and hope they will decide to join one of them. So I set up the community on my profile. It's still there. It barely got over 40 persons. Barely got over 40 persons, and it's been there since February of 2023. That was the second time that I launched the boycott. The first time was February of 2022. The second time was February of 2023. And that is when I set up the community on my Twitter profile. I set up the over 60 community network groups on Minds.com. And then I went one more step further and built a second website on GoDaddy in less than 24 hours. It only took me clicking and clicking. I didn't have to know how to build no website. I just had to do a couple clicks, and it was up in less than 24 hours. Barely 100 persons joined that. Barely 100 persons joined it. And I sent folks a direct link. I sent them the direct link more than 2 times in the back channels. I posted a boycott on my timeline, on my Twitter timeline, to come up 4 times a day, every other day. 4 times a day. If that post were going to be shown at 9 a.m., it was going to be shown again at 3 p.m., 9 p.m., and 3 a.m. 4 times a day, it was going to show up on my Twitter timeline, so I don't see how anyone could have missed it. I don't see how anyone that was following me could have missed it, because I not only posted it for to show up 4 times a day, but I did it for 30, 60, and 90 days. 30, 60, and 90 days. And then I went another step further, and I sent so many persons the direct link in the back channel. I painfully took time and went down my following, and I sent them the direct link 2 times. Some people got it more than 3 or 4 times. I counted it. I couldn't even believe my own eyes. I said, Aquilin, you have sent some of these persons this link more than 3 or 4 times. I could have passed out. I could have downright passed out. To think that I had went through my DM messages and my followings, and I had literally sent persons the direct link to the boycott 3 or 4 times, and they still didn't join. And I also said, even if you don't want to boycott, just add your number to the count. I said, maybe if I put on my JPEG, you don't even have to be part of the activating when the boycott gets activated, but just adding your number to the whole count and go about your merry life. Folks still wouldn't do it. They still wouldn't do it. They didn't have to activate. If they monetize or they just don't feel like doing it, it would have made a difference just to add your number to the total count. And folks refuse to do it. So I do not want to hear any adults crying today. I don't want to hear one single adult that I have heard for the past 3 years, I do not want to hear one single cry or complaint from any adult, because I tried my best to tell you that the boycott was the only option. Was an election that we had an opportunity, and we had the Republicans and the Democrats over the barrel. But you wouldn't want to hear that. I said, if you want to demand and put enough pressure on the Republicans and the Democrats, this was the opportunity that God gave all of us. God gave us that. Not one of us can claim that we were not given the opportunity to make our demands before we gave up our vote. Now, God made that possible. We had came all the way back full circle to where the ancestors were when they fought in the Civil War. It had went full circle. We had all came full circle, and we failed. We failed. We failed our children, and we failed our grandkids, and we failed ourselves. So it's too late to cry now. It's too late to cry now, and I don't want to hear now one of you adults cry now. Now everybody, black, African black, I just heard him in the Hard Black Truth Room. African black, 666 black. I heard him speaking in the Hard Black Truth Room, and I left him a comment or two. I left him about 3 or 4 comments, because that sorry man tried to say Negro out of his mouth. That man, in all the time that I have known him, and I met him shortly after logging into Twitter regularly a month after I got over here. So I've been over here for well over a year and a half. And I personally sent him a back channel message when I started going in his room and trying to get to know him and try to make a connection. I sent him a direct message, and I said, black, African black, how can me and you come together and try to talk about how we can try to get organized? I still got the message. So African black cannot lie. I still have the DM message that I sent him well over a year ago. I still have it saved in my DMs. I never deleted it. It never occurred to me to want to delete it. I don't delete none of the messages. So this line man is in the Hard Black Truth Room today shouting organize. When I talk, that's the very thing that I contacted him about. But everyone tuned me out. Everybody on Clubhouse, fan base, and Twitter tuned me out when I said, we have to get organized. We have to get organized. I said, it don't make no sense that you folks wake up day after day and talk in these rooms all day and not get organized and know your numbers. Every time someone open a room, how hard would it have been to gather your number count? Now, what is the excuse for that? Because you folks been opening rooms on Twitter for well over a year and a half, and you mean to tell me you have not made any effort to gather your number count? You mean to tell me you got up every single day and got on your enemy's platform and it never occurred to you to gather your number count? All those people came into those rooms day after day, day after day, day after day, and you didn't say, well, do you mind adding your email address or joining my community on my profile so we can make a collective effort to gather our number count? No, you folks were too busy. You folks were too busy attacking each other. That was more priority. So, African Black, I left him a message and I sent it to him and Mark King Carter. Those were two individual men that could have used a voice to galvanize their community. What do they have to show for it? What do African Black have to show for having a voice to galvanize his community, but they just came together in a Pan-African space day after day and complain about Negro descendants wanting to delineate. That was a higher priority. It was a higher priority to cry about FBA. It was a higher priority to cry about delineation. It was a high priority to complain about reparations. So not one of those Pan-Africans can cry today. Because how do you have the audacity to come to another person's country and do everything you can to go against what they fight for? I could never get on an airplane and fly to Jamaica and land and say, Alquilin, you are going to do everything in your ability to go against the Jamaican people of what they are trying to fight for. But these dedicated Pan-Africans do that every single day. How do you have the audacity to do that? How do you get on an airplane and fly to another country and spend every waking moment going against the very